Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first meeting of Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust Technical Advisory Council meeting in this year, 2026. A very warm welcome to the New Year's and good to see you all. Before we get started, a few quick reminders. At all the meetings of Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust, we um, we understand that on these calls we'll have competitors, we will have people representation from across the globe. So there's two quick couple of reminders, right? One is the antitrust policy, like we all adhere to any antitrust policy across the globe. And the second reminder is about everybody is welcome, all are welcome to these meetings, and we treat each other with respect and um, yeah, we welcome everyone's participation in all these meetings. So with that, um, let's move on to the um, announcements for today. So for today, we have the weekly reminder that we generally send out. So this is for the developer newsletter that goes out to a large developer community who have subscribed to newsletters within LFTT. If you are having any updates from your projects, or if you would like to communicate anything from within your project TSC, this is one of the excellent forums for you to send that communication out to a large developer community. Please make use of this. And even if you want to talk about any request for comments within your project, I'm sure you will get benefit from this. All you have to do is click on the link and leave a comment on the newsletter page, and that will be picked up in the newsletter that will be sent out. And I kept the second announcement, which was about the maintainer days registration. If you have not already done so, or if you have project team members who have yet to do so, please do so at the earliest. And yeah, we all look forward to your participation at the maintainer days. Okay, with that, let's go to the next agenda item. I understand this is a carryover from our previous TAC term. We had three reports, at least when the meeting agenda was put up, which are not completely yet reviewed by the previous TAC. And I request TAC members to take a look at available reports. And I'll pause here for any questions or concerns on any of the existing reports. I did not come across any that needs attention in the call, but I would like to open it up for comments. Don't see any. So, and for all the new and returning TAC members, generally the way we decided to go about with these reports is we were hoping that given the time constraints, each of the TAC member, they would asynchronously review the submitted reports at their own convenience, and they would notify of their approval to the report through the pull request. You would approve the pull request if you are satisfied with the report, or if you have any questions or comments, you would leave a comment in the pull request, and we'll make best effort to get that answered from the project team. And you feel free, you can ask any questions about the project to the maintainers or the project TSC and get answers to your questions through the pull request. And if we have majority of the approvals, then we can consider the report as accepted. And we were hoping to time box reviewing of these pull requests to about 2 weeks. That's what I remember the last. I see Matthew raising the hand. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Aaron. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. Yeah, I think I definitely agree that is probably going to be the most efficient way over the course of the year to get approvals on the reports without them needing to be kind of reviewed on the calls themselves. I guess I'm wondering if that holds true for like for the first kind of the very beginning of the year, particularly for new members of the TAC. If I think I wonder if there's any benefit in going through some, you know, on the call, just looking at the maybe highlighting one that someone has already put a comment on or approved, just to say, like, this is what I was looking for, and this is what I would tend to look for when I'm reviewing the reports. Because I know looking at them when I was a new TAC member at the beginning of last year, I'm not totally sure I knew kind of what I should be looking for, what I would expect to be in a report. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Sure. So I can maybe like share my own experience when I started for the first time back in the day when as a TSC. So the elements that I used to look for is if the project had a defined purpose with them. For instance, let's say a Besu or a Fabric or Firefly um, has an as a feature to be developed that was being planned as part of their previous report or maybe as part of their project proposal. I was looking forward to see if the project is still aligned on that. And that is mostly from a technical standpoint, just to ensure like project has a roadmap, has a vision that they are moving towards. And other things that I would carefully review is in terms of participation within the project, such as is the project following best practices, for instance, have they adopted all the recommendations that the TSC back then, or maybe even the TAC has put up, and things such as are the pull requests being reviewed on time, and is the project team engaging with the community at the right cadence? Do they get response and 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 things like that, right? And we get indicators. We used to get indicators from LFX Insights. It's also possible for you to get insights from Discord channels, the way the project team communicates with the community, the way they engage with their community members, and the diversity aspect, how often and how many maintainers or the TSC members are actively participating in those discussions. In the such health environment, um, is would anybody else like to add your opinion or the comments on how you started reviewing or what elements you started looking in through these reports? I see Matthew raising hand.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I thought having suggested the topic, maybe I'd offer some of my kind of views. Yeah, I think for me, a big part of it is looking to see how live the project is in general. And I think part of that comes from the the um, um, the way that the report's been written and the amount of content that whichever of the maintainers is producing it has kind of put forward as kind of that health and liveness of the report more generally. I think um, if some projects will have a large number of releases, particularly like Ethereum clients like Besu, they have a regular cadence to meet. I think for other projects, that's not always going to be the case, and active projects might be represented less by um, uh, a high number of releases, and perhaps more through other areas like community engagement, or perhaps work on some big substantial new area of work that isn't going to be complete and isn't going to go near a release for some time. So yeah, I think um, my view on them is just getting a view from that community as to how much they have to say about the project and effectively how live and how healthy it is. I know that's not really, and there are specific things that the report template requires. So I think I think for me it's um, uh, the more important thing for me is getting a feel for how much content the project is kind of trying to talk about, and how much they've got going on.
Thank you, Matthew. Uh, Marcus?
Uh, Yes. Yeah. Happy New Year again, first of all. What helped me before I did my first review was basically really dive deeper into all our governing documents, and get familiar with basically, I mean, what does it mean? How do we define a project? What is the project life cycle again? And there are a bunch of very good information available, which basically help you to evaluate a review. We even have more detailed instruction on how to do an annual review. And those quarterly reviews, I mean, they're a little bit smaller usually, but basically there are a bunch of guidelines already available. Um, Maybe we can maybe I can post the link again to the governing documents.
Thank you, Marcus. Rama?
I think Marcus covered what I was also going to suggest. Particular, I would say I would encourage the new members to look at the project lifecycle, what states we expect a project to go through, and especially for a new project, there are certain sort of criteria it needs to maintain to remain in an incubation stage, and there's certain sort of criteria that it needs to have to go to the graduated state and then to maintain that state. So I think especially in the annual review, but also in every quarterly review, TAC members are expected to just keep an eye on whether or not a project is qualified to maintain its current state or not. So I would say when you review the notes that the maintainers have provided, just watch out for signs of whether or not the project is in good health. Especially, I would say in terms of whether it's active, it has good activity in terms of communication with the community, as also releases, which Matthew was talking about. And also, I would say look at how whether or not it has a sufficient collection of maintainers, because that often is a good indicator of whether or not a project is in good health. Like if maintainers from different orgs have dropped out and if the project is just being maintained by one organization, we usually consider it a sign of slight weakness. So, and those are things you can always, in the comment section, you can ask the maintainers for more clarification on, or have them suggest particular plans. Also, other mundane things like whether or not the project maintainers are following the various guidelines, like are they maintaining an open access scorecard? Again, you'll find those in the guidelines, and if not, maybe encourage them to add some bullet points on how they plan to address those gaps. Also, some very mundane checks that you ought to make when you're reviewing PRs is see whether or not the file names are accurate, the formatting is okay, whether or not they've added an entry to the index file. These are, I think you can see in the most recent PRs, so that should be fairly easy.
Thank you, Rama. I think Kevin had his hand raised. Not sure.
Yeah, this has been super helpful. I was going to ask how are we evaluating these reports, or how are we grading them? And I think that was pretty well answered. I've got the idea. What are the consequences if a report is above the line or below the line? What exactly happens?
A good question. And thanks for raising the hand. I understand like we are going a little off the script, but I think this is the first meeting with all the new TAC members, so I'm okay with proceeding with answering these questions. So let's say a particular project falls below expectations uh, for for their current stage or life cycle stage, right? Or state. as it is responsibility or like it is on TAC members to recommend further steps. So there is possibility, like as part of our guidelines, we can follow those recommendations and we can recommend project team to follow certain things so that they step up and cover the gaps which are missing within the project or the areas that they can improve further. The other option is if we don't see traction on from within the project team, or if we feel like project is not as healthy as it used to be, um, TAC can then make a recommendation for project to be stepping down in terms of their life cycle states. And that could mean we have seen project instances where projects have been archived in the past, and or maybe sometimes the project was dormant for too long, so they have been um, like archived, like removed from the incubation status as well. So there is a recommendation that previous TAC has worked on in terms of life cycle, what each life cycle for a project means, and what criteria or categorization should we expect a project to meet in order to be in that criteria or in that state. That can be our starting point. So for new TAC members, and if you're not already familiar with the way TAC meetings are run, so if you have anything to comment or say, feel free to raise your hand on Zoom, and that's the way we share the stage to speak on these meetings. And I would also recommend you to review a few of the meeting recordings from the past TAC, especially time around when the annual reviews were done, especially the time when new project proposals were made. I'm sure there is a lot on the TAC, the way the TAC operates, that you may get benefit from. And of course, there'll be new things that we will discuss and share as we progress through the year. Okay. So with that, maybe I'll go to the next agenda item, which is on the overdue reports. So we have had so the project reports is an area which is one of those things, right, where every year we keep improving, but I'm sure like there is still a lot that we can do in terms of how we can make it easier for project teams to communicate, how efficient they are. I mean, how efficiently can they report about their project to the TAC, and we get signals of their health status. This is one of that area, especially related to trust over IP over here. I think one of the things that we can improve as a TAC is how we can capture signals and attributes from specification kind of projects such as TOIP. We have had some inputs from the past TAC, but I'm sure there's a lot that we can improve further on that. And the last I know about TOIP is they requested TAC that if they can submit one report for that will be like the annual report for this year, instead of submitting missing quarterly reports for the past year. Yeah. Any comments? I know like this question should have been for the past TAC, but any comments for the members on this call? Or any recommendations for TOIP for the current pending reports, the overdue reports? Rama?
Are the TOIP maintainers still looking for clarity from us on what kind of reports they should be writing, since it's a specifications project and not a code project?
So they do. The last I heard from them were So they were looking forward to participation from TAC members in their meetings, and they did mention that within their structure of working, they create certain reports, and um, like they were not sure what TAC would expect beyond that, or like just in terms of structure, when the new structuring report was communicated to them, or when like the way we were expecting the TAC was expecting. So they acknowledged it, and just in terms of reports, I think they are asking, is it really mandatory for them to now submit it now that it's already overdue for a while? Does it make sense for them to submit those quarterly reports, or would it be fine if they can just submit one?
You mean they can skip the Q3 report but submit Q4 onwards?
Their plan was to submit from Q1 of 26, but that's kind of that direction they wanted to go.
My personal opinion is if they have clarity on what to submit in the report, then maybe they can submit a late Q4 report. And yeah, since Q3 is already almost 4 months over, 3 months overdue, so maybe we can skip that. But I'll defer to others' opinions if they have any.
Thank you, Rama.
So, Matthew, this was a debate throughout most of last year that, as far as I know, never reached resolution on how to differentiate between projects that produce specs, solely produce specs, and those that produce code and those that produce specs and code. So I do think this is still an area where the the TAC needs to come up with some clear guidance for, in particular, TOIP, trust over IP. I don't think that ever came to an end or resolution. Yeah, and Diane says the same.
Thank you, Rai, for that. So probably what I would request TAC members is, I heard Rama's suggestion that we still request them to submit a quarterly report, which was due for the last year, and ask them to follow the new structure that we have proposed towards the end, and see if they can, or what other challenges they may face as part of that. That can be our beginning point. Do majority of TAC concur with that?
So Diane, just to be clear, you agree that they should submit the Q3 report, the Q4 report, and then the annual report, which will be due shortly. Yes, okay.
Yeah, Matthew?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I guess, and this, I think maybe it just reiterates the point that Hart's made on the chat. I think maybe this is useful to have as a standalone topic for one of the upcoming agendas, because it does feel like it's not totally resolved yet. And given that at the start of the year we could put together a proposal that allows such projects a nice clear set of guidelines for this year.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, we will follow up with the project team, the TOIP, and we will seek further clarity on that. Okay, so we haven't heard back from Credible team that they will soon submit their report. I don't see one yet, and haven't heard back from Caliper team as well. So that's still pending. We'll follow up in next upcoming days. Okay, with that, maybe we'll go to the next agenda item. So for the 2026 project update calendars, I put up a pull request, and I request TAC members to review maybe with your project teams, or if you have any recommendations to change in the proposal, please do comment on the pull request. Otherwise, we'll start accepting that it is agreed upon schedule, and we'll start acting on that schedule. What that reminds is that's also one of the discussion item that I wanted to bring up about the annual reviews. I know, like in the previous TAC terms, Tracy used to do that much earlier in the phase, maybe towards the end of December. She used to create an Excel sheet which maps TAC members to which projects they were associated with and which projects they do not have conflicts, so that those TAC members can go and participate with the project teams, review the project's annual report with the maintainers or the TSA members, and then represent them in these TAC meetings to go through those annual reviews. So before the next meeting, I'll try to replicate what she used to do, so that we know how we participate. Okay, with that, let's jump into discussion items. And of course, like, we already welcome new TAC members again. A very warm welcome to all the returning and new TAC members. One of the things that we all probably should align on, and this was brought up also in an email thread, is would this time work for majority of the TAC, or do you recommend an alternate time? And there's other possibility that it may not be running at a fixed schedule or a fixed time every week. Maybe it could be an alternate. Maybe each alternate week we could follow a different time that could benefit majority of the TAC. And we of course need all the TAC members to be able to participate in these meetings. It's just a unique challenge this time that we have participation from a big time zone difference places. Like few people are present at UTC plus 10, whereas some of them are present at UTC minus 8 time zones. It's really difficult to get everybody on a single call. Any comments or questions or recommendations on this topic? Thank you, Diane. I see you're open for 5 a.m. Kevin?
I did fill out your spreadsheet, and I noticed that a few people hadn't. Did that give you any insights into what was possible?
That's a good call out. So I do see majority of TAC has failed, but maybe a couple of us have yet to fill that info. So what that strongly suggests, at least with the current info, is that anything which is like 10 p.m. kind of UTC may not work for the majority. That will mean we will miss out on Australian time zone completely if we don't have a meeting at that time. A time zone that works for majority of Asia, Europe, and Americas may not work for Australia. Okay. I would request TAC members to maybe comment, be vocal or spoken about this. If you have alternate suggestions, we want to accommodate majority participation. Rama?
Yeah, now I'm just trying to think. So we have TAC members from Australia, India, Israel, Switzerland, and different zones in the US that I think it's basically impossible to reconcile all of these. So somebody will have to be up really late or really up really early.
Agreed. And that also brings up a good question. Like majority of the time this year, I'm sure the participation will have to be asynchronous in nature. So we'll do our best to have all the communications documented, maybe through GitHub repositories or Discord channels and email communications within the mailing list. I don't see much traction on the meeting timings. So until we hear strongly otherwise to change the time or to go with an alternate arrangement, which has like alternating time across two different specified times, we'll continue with the current cadence, current schedule. Yeah, I again request that members to be vocal about if you have any recommendations. Okay, so that with that, for all the returning and new TAC members, if you're not familiar with the way TAC operates, um, thank you again, Matthew, for pasting the links, or Marcus for pasting the link on gardening documents. Please go through the governance repository and the TAC gardening documents, the kind of discussions that have happened, and you could maybe review one or two calls from the past years, especially during project proposals, the annual report reviews, and you get an idea of how TAC operates. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask at any point. Just raise your hand and you get a chance to speak. And sometimes we have seen like people had difficulty finding that raise hand feature, so feel free to unmute yourself and speak if needed. Okay. I think since we are on this topic, and first thing that I wanted to bring up to the TAG was, should we propose and introducing like GitHub issues as a means for us to bringing topics to these TAG meetings? Now that majority of the TAG are going to operate asynchronously, or like we have to sync across multiple time zones, this becomes very crucial for us to have all of this documented and allow participation for any discussions. Any comments or suggestions from the TAC members on that? So just for a background, right? We already are using GitHub repository, governance repository, and we raise pull requests to document everything. And we have moved our meeting minutes and meeting agenda, capturing attendance and everything into the same GitHub repository. So the proposal here is, if anybody has a new topic to discuss, or we want to track updates on a previously open topic, it could be ranging from, let's say, a new task force that we create as part of TAG, or maybe it could be just a new meeting agenda to be proposed for the next meeting. The proposal is that we standardize on using GitHub issues within that repository. So that serves as a single place for us to fix up an agenda. Marcus?
Arun, are you suggesting that we create a PR on the agenda PR or a branch which is then there? It's not really clear to me how this should work.
So in terms of implementation, I'm visualizing this to be a template in GitHub issues. Maybe, Rai, since you're sharing screen, can you like maybe just run through the GitHub issues and show like how that would look like? it's not in it. Yep. Right, something like this. And when you click on new issue, it will suggest you, do you want to propose a new topic for the TAC meeting, or do you have a um, task force recommendations? Do you have just the next meeting agenda item for a particular week that you want to introduce? Or you want to open some topic for requesting for comments from TAC members? We could create a few set of templates. And once you click on this, it will ask you for some details and you fill that. That's uh, that's how I'm visualizing it to be.
Okay, now I understand. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I think it sounds like a good idea to have this formal approach. However, I still like our informal way to use just Discord and say, or gives people there the opportunity to say in the tech channel, hey, I have this topic, and then we basically try to fit this in the next possible agenda.
I'm good with that. Yeah, one of us can then bring that conversation from Discord and formalize that through GitHub issue so that everybody else will also become familiar with it.
Right. I think the key point would be keep the overhead as low as possible for someone who would like to come here and propose something. And if we say, well, it's fine to do this informal on Discord or very formal by creating this issue, then this is fine. But if we then being picky and say, well, please go to the repository, open an issue, and only then we can speak about this stuff, then this would be maybe counterproductive, I believe. But otherwise, I think it's fine to have this new issue type.
Thank you, Marcus. Any other thoughts or comments on that? Don't hear any. So I acknowledge Marcus' concern. We'll keep it the way it is, and we'll see how we can encourage further participation from across the TAC. Okay. Moving to the next agenda. The other thing that I wanted to bring in was one of the things that that we struggled, or probably like was consistent, was few of the lab proposals that were brought in were not reviewed on time. And I know in the previous TAC term, we also, when similar topic was brought up, um, request, I mean, there was a discussion, and the outcome of that discussion was that each project proposal in the labs would also be open for TAC members to review and approve on. So it's not just the lab stewards, but also TAC gets responsibility on reviewing lab proposals, optionally, of course. But in order to like get more traction on that, I would propose to have like list of pending lab proposals as a reminder within these meetings, so that we like TAC gets to action on that, and we don't leave lab proposals without an answer for a long period of time. Any thoughts or questions, comments on that? Right, this would be the third agenda item from the meeting. Marcus?
Yeah, I think this is a good idea to put a little bit more attention on lab proposals. I mean, I've seen this in the past that some proposals are trigger more interest from the reviewers than others, and yeah, maybe this is a little bit unfair, but I think if we are, let's say, also advertise on this call that there is some stuff to review there, I hope this then accelerates the completion of a proposal for a new lab.
Thank you, Marcus.
So I could propose to, I mean, maybe not every tech meeting, but every now and then to advertise lab proposals which require additional reviews and put this then on the agenda.
Thank you. Are you proposing that the lab proposals, if it catches attention, then we may request them to join these meetings and talk about it? Is that what you're recommending?
So my proposal is to, so I, since I'm screening those lab proposals anyway, if I notice that we're not making good progress on the reviewing of the stuff, then I will put an agenda item on the tech and then saying, hey, there's an interesting lab proposal which requires a little bit more discussion or review. Please have a look. That's my proposal. An alternative would be, okay, let's say, well, we put on the agenda for every tech a little lab report, which I would rather not do.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. But yeah, sure. So my goal was to like begin and at least not have new proposals hanging and not having without much traction on their proposals, so that we welcome their contribution, we acknowledge their contribution, and we can further improvise on um, bringing them and having them speak about their projects if it catches attention, for sure. So I'm not sure if we need like a motion and an acceptance on this, or it could be just like an agreed upon terms within the TAC as a general practice. Rai, what do you suggest?
I don't know that there needs to be a vote to force it.
Okay.
I think if you find one that is languishing, then it would be appropriate to communicate in Discord and say, hey, I need some eyeballs on this. I think that's completely appropriate.
Rama?
Yeah, I think we already invite the proposers to come and present, right? I think we do give them a chance to do that. My suggestion would be if you do that, if you have them present their topic in one of the meetings, and we give the TAC members a week or two to digest what they've heard, and if nobody has reviewed within, let's say, those 2 weeks, then we just do a straight vote in the next TAC meeting. With whoever is
This would
present.
be for labs.
Yes.
Okay.
We need to vote on labs. Sorry,
No, we don't need to vote on labs. That's usually,
okay.
we just need a couple people to approve it, a couple members of the
okay.
TAC to approve it. So,
Okay. Fine.
Marcus,
I think we had in the past also labs in the tech meeting presenting their proposal for a new lab, but I think in the last 3 years we didn't have that. And I also, well, I don't believe that we actually want to introduce that.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking about new project proposals. My bad.
No, we were speaking about the labs.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that, Marcus, and thank you, Rama, for your suggestions. I do acknowledge what Rai brought up. Okay, so I mean, we'll do our best to get traction on new community members while proposing their projects, so that we get enough eyeballs on reviews and get those moving forward. Let's see how we can improvise on that. So that moves us to the next agenda item for today, which is for project annual reviews of this year. And as I said earlier, this call will follow similar template that Tracy has put up for us. I'll borrow, maybe I need inputs from all of you. Once I create that Excel sheet, if you have any project association, please do call it out. Otherwise, the general idea is that one of the TAC or like couple of TAC members, one person being a primary reviewer and another person being a secondary reviewer, participate with one of the projects that they are not familiar with, and then they try and represent that project, review their project report, work with those maintainers or TAC, and represent them to rest of the TAC, bring those summary and recommend what we should do about the project based on their health metrics. In majority of the times in the past, we have seen TAC members have been making recommendations either to promote the project to the next stage in their life cycle, or some of the times we have also seen TAC members making recommendations that project no longer meets certain criteria for them to be in their current state. And yeah, I request you to watch out for that communication soon and inputs on participating for this year's annual reviews soon. Okay, so that leaves us with the next agenda item for today, which is to have retrospection, reviewing retrospection items from last year. I know we had one session with Tracy last year, but what I wanted to get started with this item was to set the goal for 2026 and to see if we can borrow any open items or suggestions that we had from the previous TAC. And we'll also have this topic in the next TAC meeting for us to set the goals for this year. But I'll take a pause here and want to open up for others to comment on if we can borrow anything that we can that we should target towards. I think one thing that gets called out is how do we make it efficient for specification kind of projects such as TOIP, so that they can talk about their projects, they can submit their quarterly reports, they can publish about the progress of their projects. That's one thing for sure, definitely getting called out. I want to open the stage for the TAC members to comment on if you have anything that we should borrow from retrospection items. Don't see any hands raised. I understand like this could be on a short notice, but I do request you to take your time, review these items again, and send in your recommendations on the things that we should borrow and improvise on for this year. And also think of things that we should be doing, set ourselves a goal for this year. These could be things that you as a project maintainer have faced problem when you're, let's say, doing certain things, right? Or maybe proposing a life cycle change, proposing a project to the LFTT. I'm sure like you have your own experience and comments or thoughts on that, or maybe on an operational basis, the day-to-day activities, the things that we can improve within LFTT. So think of these angles, and we'll have these discussions again happening in the next week. So please do come prepared with the pain points that we can improvise on, or just in terms of recommendations that we should adopt as part of LFTT. See thumbs up from Marcus. Believe there are no other questions. Thank you, Rama, for. And yeah, so I believe like we have maybe like 3 open items. One is to think of retrospection items, come up with the or just in terms of like goals that we should target towards achieving for this year. In the annual report reminder that we will have asynchronous communication, we'll have emails, right, and Discord thread started on it. And the third one is about meeting time. We'll continue with the current meeting time and schedule until we hear back otherwise from TAC members. That wraps meeting for today. Still comment from Sophie. Do you want to speak about that?
Hi, so my name is Sophie. Thank you for allowing me to have some time to speak. I'm new to the TAC meeting in the sense that I haven't really attended many in the past. I learned about this in the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust calendar, and I was just curious. So one of the things I heard is that you were wanting to work on strategies to improve how quickly pull requests are being reviewed. Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly? I mean, there were so many new words for me, so I didn't understand everything. But yeah, we've recently added below committers. So we have maintainers and committers, and below that we have added a junior committer status. So this is a triage role. And the members in the junior committer, I mean, this is just in the Python SDK, sorry, by the way, in Hyro, just us. And the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive from the junior committer members. They're saying things like, I feel safe reviewing the pull requests. I feel more motivated to review the pull requests because I feel safe, and also because I just feel more connected to the project. I have this ability to approve things. It's a read-only approval because they don't have write access. And yeah, this has been a really great addition to the team, and has really helped us to spread the review task between all of us, and people are using it as a learning activity as well. So I can't recommend that enough. But yeah, I had no strategy or anything to do that, but we have that, and I've recently received positive feedback on our community calls. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Sophie. I'm sure like this is an excellent practice that every project team can adopt. I believe like you will also be speaking at Maintainer Days event So if all the other project team members, if you have a participation in the maintainers days, I'm sure you will learn. Rama?
Oh no, I was sorry to interrupt. I was just saying if we can consider adding this to project best practices if the TAC members want. But we can discuss that in a subsequent meeting.
It's a great suggestion. Agreed. Sure. I think the PR reviews that we were discussing earlier in this meeting were mostly about the lab proposal ones and the quarterly report reviews from the TAC members. But sure, I think if there is a way we can improvise on that by adopting something like this, even in these roles, I'm sure we can do that. Okay, so that thank you, Sophie. So that wraps the meeting agenda for today. We'll again reconvene next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Arun. TAC. Thanks, Arun.